Hey there, guys. So today I am going to walk you through a bottom panel replacement for a damaged bottom panel. So in this particular instance, the customer told me that his garage door was not yet fully open when somebody backed into it with their car, bending the bottom panel outwards, popping both bottom rollers off, and making the panel garbage. So we're going to switch it out. Right now I am just putting some vice grips above and below the roller at the top of the second panel so that when I start messing around with the bottom panel, the rest of the door just doesn't go anywhere. And there's a couple of different ways to do this particular job, this bottom panel replacement. I find this way the easiest for me. So what you want to do is you lift your door about 10 to 12 inches off the floor, vice grip off the second set of rollers, and right now what I'm doing is I have a spare winding cone in my truck that I keep for instances where I can't get at the winding cone on the spring itself. So I'm just installing that on the end of the shaft, which is going to allow me to manipulate the spring when I go to do the work here. So there are two ways that I like to do these, and it depends on if the bottom rollers are in or if the bottom rollers are out. If the bottom rollers are in, I will actually take the bottom set of hinges off before I start back winding my spring. But in this case, the bottom rollers being off, if you do that, there's a chance that your bottom panel will actually flip up or jump up at you and cause more damage to the door. And I just didn't want to risk that. So I'm leaving my hinges on for now. I'm going up my ladder right now. So what I'm going to do here is actually, I'm going to back wind my spring. So I'm going to physically turn the shaft backwards against the spring so that it allows the cables to go slack. Basically, I'm trying to close the door with the door blocked open. So the cables are going to get a little longer and go slack, which once I take the first row of hinges off, that'll let that bottom panel drop away from the bottom of the door, which will allow me to work on it and swap it out. So I've just put a little pad of rubber behind my winding bar just to protect the customer's wall because it is a finished garage. I don't want to mar the paint. So what I'm doing here is just taking the bottom fixtures off first. Excuse me. And then I took the hinges off, take the panel off, and then now I can get down to business of unwrapping the new panel. Yeah, get all that cardboard out of there. So I'm just putting a pair of vice grips on the cables away from where I'm winding my spring, so that later when I go to retension the spring, or the door, sorry, I know that that cable is tight on the drum and I don't have to worry about it slipping into a different groove. It just makes it a little bit easier for myself. And so here we go. I'm just making sure everything is ready. I'm straightening out the roller guides on the bottom fixture right now because they got all bent when the door got hit. And just cutting the tape from the box to the panel so I don't take my cardboard with me. And it's right here I realized that I didn't backwind my springs enough and the bottom fixtures were actually still hanging in the air. So I just throw another quarter wind of backwind on the spring, drops my fixtures onto the ground, pop the rollers into the tracks, lay the panel down on top of the bottom fixtures, get them all situated, and then I can screw my bottom fixtures back in, which I will do after I get this one popped on. There we go. So we're screwing those back in. And now, at this point, I am ready to allow my bottom panel to meet the rest of the door again for the first time. So basically what we do here is we just go in reverse. We allow the spring to wind itself back up. Sucks those cables back up to the door, sucks the panel back up to the door, and then it's just a matter of shifting it side to side to make sure it's lined up. and screwing the hinges back in. So at this point, the door is whole again and complete. I'm taking my vice grips off, let the door fall to the ground, take my sunglasses off because I don't need them anymore. So right now I'm just locking the door into manual mode because I'm going to check the balance. Oh, don't forget to take the vice grips off the cable, Jason. So now we're checking the balance of the door. It should be good. This door is only about a year old, and I know the guy that installed it. He's a really good installer. But it's just one of the things I do when I'm working on a door. I'll check the balance of almost every door I touch, just because I want to make sure that my customer is getting the best quality service. And it did balance. The springs held every panel in the radius. So now I'm just allowing the motor and the door to marry back together. And here we are, just checking the limits. I didn't quite like where the door was stopping, so we're going to set the limits again. I'm just playing around with it to get the two doors to stop at the exact same place. Again, just my aesthetic OCD going on there. And downward limit, make sure the door doesn't go anywhere. And now we're into the run cycle to set the force settings. And that's an important step in setting the limits, because if you don't set the force settings, then the limits won't take, and you'll have to do it all over again. So always remember to run your force run. And yeah, so that is pretty much the gist of a bottom panel replacement. We'll run the door open one more time just to make sure that our limits are where we want them to be. Alright, thank you guys all for watching, and have yourselves a great night.